Spire is a business management solution for small and mid-sized businesses, full of features and processes to make it easy to manage your sales, purchases, and accounting. Let's take a short journey and highlight a number of them. Perhaps you are a sales entry person, taking customer orders. When you log into Spire, you can choose from any number of company databases to open, and are not limited to one company dataset per license. You may also choose to configure your accounting to include a location value that is included on sales and purchase orders, so that revenue and expense accounting can be tracked by location. After signing on, you may receive pop-up alerts regarding important information or transactions that have become due, assigned to you through communications. Not only can you see the alerts, but you can also view them to open additional external attachments or websites, or mark the task as completed, or open the related record and be taken directly to the record or transaction where the note was assigned. Notes that aren't yet due can still be seen and read from the Communications module, from either the entire list or narrowed down using predefined record filters to a more focused group of notes, such as those just for you today or this week or from a specific module. Outstanding notes for the company can be seen more visually from the Calendar module, where each communication appears as a link within the daily slot, and those assigned to each user display in different colors. You can use any of these notes access methods as your to-do list for the day or week and ensure that nothing gets missed, and mark off each job when done. If you regularly need to visit certain websites throughout the day, perhaps your company homepage or online ordering, or a cloud-based application for internal communications or email, a built-in Chromium browser can be used for accessing multiple websites, simply by defining URLs either for the entire company or just for you. When you're ready to get to work, you can open the module you need to see the list of records or transactions, such as customers, purchase orders, or sales orders, in a grid. You can display the information in columns that's most important to you, or hide information that just gets in the way, and position columns to organize it all in the way you need. Then, you can make modifications to anything you see, or create something new. While creating an order, typing into selection fields will prompt you with more choices than just codes that start with this, but also records that contain this in other key fields, to make it easier to find the record you want. After selecting the code, you may receive an alert warning you about a condition or scenario before you get too far into the entry. Data entry is expedited by the ability to add records directly within the grid, and use the keyboard to navigate throughout. Tab through the columns and make edits where necessary. Look up other codes using keyboard shortcuts, and choose them without having to use the mouse and slow you down. Include completing the line entry and start a new one. You can set up inventory items in different ways in order to make entry more efficient and reliable. Items can be configured with additional accessories that are always included so they are not forgotten. Any items on sales orders that have a selling margin lower than a chosen minimum can be identified immediately, and perhaps the selling price be modified to solve the situation. Items can be defined as kits, which are in fact collections of other items sold together, that can be modified or removed as part of the ordered item set, and displayed at the kit or component level. Items can be defined to require serial numbers or lot numbers assigned to the sale, if you are required to track this information for reporting or potential tracing. When entering an item that happens to be out of stock, you can choose to redirect the sale to an alternate item if one has been set, or set the quantity for this item to be backordered. For backordered items, you can create a requisition transaction directly from the sales order, requesting a purchase to be made to fulfill this backorder, or if allowed, to process the purchase order yourself and assign the PO number to the backordered item. When the order entry is complete, you can save the order for future processing, perhaps with requirements to have over-credit customers or under-margin sales approved. Or if you are allowed, process the sales order now to creating a picking list for the warehouse and ready the order for shipping, or set the order to the next phase of your customizable sales order workflow. Shipped orders can have the tracking number entered and enable a direct link to the shipment provider's website for up-to-date shipping information. Perhaps you are a sales manager responsible for approving and processing sales orders, with rights for creating customer invoices. You can find out which orders are ready for processing by using a filter to focus down the list to just those you need to see. Or if you only need to find that one certain order from a large list, and maybe you don't have the order number or customer code to easily look for it, the smart search box can be used to search for sales orders for many informational fields at once, like name, city, contact, item description, alert notes, and more. Editing an order for a customer with an active alert will show a warning prompt at the top, which can be viewed or dismissed. Editing an order with back-ordered item stock now available to ship will prompt you on screen, so you don't have to guess or check whether or not the order can be fulfilled. You can even set the items as shipped from the prompt itself, or use the Fill Back Orders feature for all or selected items. As part of the order entry process, you may need to find out more before processing or shipping. You don't have to close the order and then locate the other information of interest. Instead, it may easily be available within the order. See other open orders for this customer listed, and even drill down to see the details, maybe to check for ordering patterns or duplication. Use sales history to check what you've charged this customer in the past for the items on just this order. Or open the customer inventory item records directly from the order. For categorizing or tracking orders, you can either increment or set the order phase, or set the order status to processed or shipped in order to best accommodate your workflow procedures. You can also create any number of user-definable fields to store any information not already available for entry, to assist you in maintaining or classifying records. When the order has been shipped and a customer invoice can be generated, this can be done easily. As allowed from security and customer terms, change the customer's credit limit, or take a payment with the invoice, or post the invoice to the customer's account for future payment, perhaps with a credit authorization override required for customers over their limit, or having other old and unpaid invoices. Perhaps you are the staff person responsible for processing back-end accounting. When you log into Spire, in addition to alerts assigned to you, you may also see any recurring receivables or payables transactions that are due to be processed. View, edit, or post the monthly utility or phone bill as a new vendor invoice, or create the entry for a customer pre-authorized debit directly from this pop-up screen. When you wish to take a customer payment for outstanding invoices, you can look for them either from the complete customer list or from the list of customers that have any open accounts receivable. Open the customer and select each invoice to be paid. You can highlight an invoice to investigate if there is something you want to verify prior to assigning the payment. Then choose to pay the selections and generate a payment receipt if desired, and post the payment for the customer, followed by the receipt printout or email. And when it comes time for generating financial reports in the general ledger, you may want to or need to analyze transactions posted to the chart of accounts. This can be easy to accomplish by listing the posted transactions in a grid, perhaps filter to those for a specific fiscal period or group of accounts, and then export the grid contents to an Excel file for external investigation. Or highlight a specific entry and view either the complete balanced entry or even view the source subledger transaction from where this entry came from. Here is an overview for where you can find and use Spire functions and processes. At the top are menu selections grouped within related areas of your company business. Access records general to the company, including processing options and user security. Customer maintenance and accounts receivable. Vendor maintenance and accounts payable. Inventory item maintenance and relevant transactions. Active and historical purchase orders. Active and historical sales orders, and more. Many of the records you maintain for processing and accounting can only be found from these top-level menus. On the left side of the Spire main window is the list of modules available to the company. All of these modules can also be opened from the top-level menus, but often this is an easier place to locate and open the place you want to work. Because this is the typical launching point for modules, you can change the position of the modules and organize them the way you want. Perhaps you can put the modules you use most often at the top, or arrange related modules together. In general, selecting a module from the left side or from the respective top-level menu will open a grid in the Spire main window that lists associated records and transactions. And when accessing transactions, records, or settings from the top-level menu that aren't listed in the module area will be opened in an independent window for display or further editing. For the module that is open, there often are tabs at the top that contain information for different processes, or access to related records, or providing a different view into the data, or printing reports for this module. Common toolbar buttons at the top provide standard functionality for each module, such as creating or changing or deleting records, searching for something, exporting the grid to Excel, printing reports, or getting help. Many modules also have toolbar buttons that toggle on a status or run a specific procedure for one or more records or transactions highlighted in the grid, active only when the associated record can use them. And toolbars can be rearranged to organize the layout and make it easy to find the buttons you want. When new records are created, or existing records are edited, a new screen is opened that gives the user access to the information stored within. Like the module list, these windows also have toolbars for common and process-specific functions. Perhaps two separate toolbars for both the header and detail areas of transactions. And for organization, multiple tabs exist to group related information when it would be overwhelming or impossible to display everything on one screen. Tabs may also be available to display other transactions related to this record, or processes to assist with entry. Sometimes a system message appears at the top of the window, either as information or a warning, when particular data conditions are met, such as inventory being in stock to cover back orders, or there are important notes to read. You can follow this call to action or dismiss it as required. Spire allows using previous and next record navigation to open a different record, even while in edit mode, if you are browsing for something specific or making updates to multiple records. If you made any changes not yet saved, you will be prompted to do so before moving to another record. Fields with a magnifying glass indicate that information can be entered not only by typing the associated code, but also with a lookup or search capability. Click the magnifying glass to open a full list of defined codes to choose from. Or start typing to have a ranked list appear below, not only to list codes that start with what you have typed, but also records that have other key information stored on the record, such as a contact or phone number. Some grids, such as for transaction details, allow entering information directly into the column cells, rather than from a separate window. This can make it more efficient to enter or update multiple details in succession. Use the Tab key to move focus to the next editable field on the right, or Shift Tab to go to the left, the up or down arrow keys to move to another row within the same column, or the Enter key to start a new detail on the next row. Color is used throughout Spire to bring focus to important information. Certain fields or cells may have color to represent an important data condition. You can manually assign color to records so that whenever they are listed in grids, a visual cue is there to represent a scenario of interest. Tab names like Communications can have color to show that there are notes available that the user should read and be aware of. Grids in Spire are customizable for each user. You can display only the columns you want to see by right-clicking on the title row to show the list of available fields and select those of interest. Some columns are only visible if the user has been granted security access to them. Columns can also be repositioned by dragging a title to where you want it and then dropping it. Organize the columns in a way that makes it easiest to locate the information you need. The records in the grid may be sorted based on any visible column. Simply click on the column title and the records will be sorted by these values in ascending order. Notice the arrowhead point up to indicate the sort status. Click the same title again to reverse the sort in descending order, with the arrowhead now pointing down. Or change the sort to another column by clicking that title. Use a sort sequence to position the most important information at the top, or make it simple to locate a desired record within the list. The row sort order and the column visibility and positioning are used and remembered just for you and won't affect anyone else. If you want to locate a specific record in the grid, one way to do this is to sort the column you would like to search by, generally in ascending order. Click into any cell in that column and type the first character of the value you want to find. The first row that contains this character will be immediately highlighted, and the character you typed will be colored green to remind you. Type another character to highlight the first row with a value starting with these two characters, and so on. The process is not only available for text fields, but also works for numeric and date columns as well. Many processes in Spire can be performed on multiple records at once. Records in grids can be selected more than one at a time, either consecutive or not, so that you can set the same status for all of them, or print a report with just these selected records, or include the selections in a new transaction. In the case of item or customer grids, you can multi-select records in order to make the identical changes to all of them at once. Doing this can make processing far more efficient than one at a time. Another way to locate one or more records or transactions is to use the filter process for entering search criteria to display records that match. Filters provide the added benefit of saving the criteria to be used in the future without requiring to enter it every time you want it. Click the Filters button to reveal the criteria entry. Choose the field to search by from the complete list of fields in alphabetical sequence. The comparison and value selections are dependent on the chosen field data type. Numeric fields provide equal or comparison or range choices. Then just type in the value and tab out to generate the results. Text fields have the same comparison choices available, and longer description or address fields have contains or starts with choices. Date fields allow picking predefined daily, monthly, or annual values. Some fields have discrete choices that you can choose from. Additional criteria can be included by clicking the plus button. This presents a second field and criteria that works in the same way. Then choose to match either any or all criteria, where all needs every criteria to match, and any needs just at least one. The filter criteria can be saved for future use by clicking the black arrowhead next to the filter button. Choose to save as the standard default layout, or as a separate filter that can be selected when desired from the bottom of this drop-down list. Give the filter a unique description and set whether it is just for yourself or the entire company. Optionally, you can also allow this filter to be included under the module name if you plan to use it frequently, and also include the column layout along with the filtered rows. Saving this adds the filter to the selected places. Inventory item records are maintained not only to store pricing and physical information, but also allow for defining specialized sales order preferences and tracking, and exploring historical purchase and sales transactions. Some information of typical interest can be found on the Details tab for purchasing costs and accounting, and the Prices and Units tab for additional prices and how item units are stored and sold. In addition, the Sales Tax Exceptions tab allow you to specify tax exemptions for your region, and the UPC tab allows configuring UPC codes for scanning barcodes in various transactions. And the Accessories tab allows defining additional items to automatically be sold alongside this item when added to a sales order. There are many ways an inventory item can be configured that affects how items are purchased, sold, and tracked, in addition to the normal item type. A manufactured item is created from a group of raw material items determined on the Bill of Materials tab, which are consumed when this item is manufactured. A kitted item represents a collection of other inventory items defined on the Kit Components tab, which can be modified when added to a sales order. A macro item isn't technically an item at all, but a code that represents one or more inventory items defined on the Macro Substitutions tab that are instead added to sales or purchase orders when the macro item is selected. This can also be useful if an item is discontinued and the replacement is set as the macro substitution. Items can be chosen to store either serial numbers for each individual quantity on hand, visible from the Serial Numbers tab, or lot numbers assigned to groups of quantities, trackable from the Lot Numbers tab. Labels can be printed either for individual items or for warehouse bins or shelves as single labels. In addition to item information, you can also see outstanding and historical purchase orders and sales orders where this item exists, or movement of this item quantity across all transaction types. In all of these transaction list grids, you can double-click any of them to drill down and open the transaction screen. If you wish to make an identical change to a number of items, from the Inventory Item List grid, you can select multiple items, either consecutive or not, and click the Edit button to invoke the Group Edit Inventory window. From here, certain settings or default values can be set here and then applied to all selected inventory. There are a few other records that should be defined as you maintain your inventory. From the Inventory menu, sales departments are assigned to inventory items to define accounting for inventory at cost, sales revenue, and cost of sales. Warehouses may be used to configure multiple buildings where inventory items are stored and sold from. Product codes are assigned to inventory items to set minimum selling margins and surcharges. Because inventory can be sold to customers with alternate pricing, either for special deals or when customer groups are used, Spire can store all of these various prices and automatically apply them when the appropriate conditions are met when ordered. Within the Price Matrix module, a list of all special prices is displayed, which can be sorted or filtered, as with other list grids, to locate a price of interest. Each is unique to some item and customer or group combination. Price matrix records have flexibility in when they are applied to sales. Items can be set individually or when they belong to a product group, and perhaps only when they are sold from a certain warehouse. Customers can be set individually or when they belong to a particular type or sales territory, perhaps only when a specific ship-to location is used. Or the price can apply to all customers, such as for a sale or clearance. Determine if this special price is only valid when ordered within a limited date range. It's possible for a customer inventory combination to be represented by more than one price matrix record. There is internal logic for which price is ultimately selected, but you can specify one with high priority that will always be used. The price can be defined as a specifically set amount, or calculated as a discount on the usual selling price, or from a margin over one of the inventory costs. And the price can be used only if a minimum quantity is ordered, and multiple price breaks can be created when higher volumes are sold. In addition, you can present sales with colored formatting on orders when you include a promotion code, which has another ability to include other items within a cumulative quantity price break when all are ordered together and have the same promotion code. Sometimes inventory items require specialized tracking for warranties or service or product tracing. Spire allows maintaining serial or lot numbers for item purchases or sales. When editing an inventory item, you can specify that either serial numbers or lot numbers are required for transaction processing in inventory storage. Serial numbers are allocated for each individual item quantity in stock. Lot numbers can be allocated to groups of inventory quantities, perhaps for receipt of a purchase order or an entire production run. Therefore, another selection choice for lot number consumption is necessary to determine which lots are used when selling this item. When items using either serial or lot numbers are purchased or sold, there is a separate tab that lists the numbers for inventory in stock and the transactions related to each tracking number. Lot numbers can have expiry dates stored or required, with the ability to change them here. And for any lot with associated transactions, you can trace where they were purchased, sold, or consumed in production, either from a pop-up screen or a report. Serial and lot numbers are not created within inventory item editing, but rather when purchasing and receiving or manufacturing the item. For purchases, the order status has to be either issued or received, so that received quantity value can be entered. For items that track either number type, either click the Serial Numbers button to open the entry screen, or enter the received quantity, which also opens this screen. From here, you can either manually enter the serial number or scan a UPC code to insert it. When this is saved, the serial number is displayed on screen for easy reference and can be modified if corrections are necessary. Lot number entry is similar, for the ability to enter the numbers manually or by scanning. Lot numbers can be auto-generated from the internally stored next available number. You also indicate the quantity of items that use the lot number, which doesn't have to be the full receipt quantity, and the expiry date for the lot, which can be calculated from the item. Enter enough lots and quantity to cover the full receipt amount, or a warning message will appear to indicate this. The optional Production Manager module also supports generating either tracking number type. When a manufactured item that supports this is produced, a Serial Numbers button is available to create numbers in the same way as purchase orders. When a sales order includes items with serial or lot numbers, they can be assigned automatically or manually. When the Serial Number button is clicked, or the item ship quantity entered is greater than 0, the Serial Number selection screen appears. Click the checkbox next to the chosen number from the list to match the quantity shipped, or manually type or scan the number to select. Saving the choice will display the numbers with the item. For items with lot numbers, you can follow the same process. Or the item may have a consumption rule to automatically assign lot numbers based on age or number. Similarly, for production orders, component items with lot numbers are consumed following the same rules as for sales orders. Other inventory transactions that involve quantity changes also support serial and lot number tracking. When transferring items, the serial numbers screen allows selecting the items being moved. When adjusting items, negative quantity adjustment requires selecting serial or lot numbers being lost, or positive quantity adjustment requires indicating new serial or lot numbers. When counting items, you may need to account for every serial or lot number separately, and the Count Serial screen allows entering stock counts by serial or lot number. Adding inventory items to sales orders quickly and effectively is key to efficient order entry. Spire has many features to accommodate this. Inventory details are entered directly into the item's grid, where inventory codes can be searched for and selected, and quantities or other values typed in. Default prices can be configured from the price matrix area for this item, when the item is being purchased for the specified customer. And even combined with other items to give cumulative price breaks through promotion codes. Keyboard entry allows for navigating the fields easily, including using the Enter key to add the next item. Or the Scan Items function can be used for adding new items that have UPC codes configured. Any items on sales orders that have a selling margin lower than a chosen minimum can be identified immediately, and perhaps the selling price be modified to solve the situation. There are different inventory item types and configurations which present features when added to sales orders. Items can be configured with additional accessories that are always included, so that they are not forgotten. Items can be defined as kits, which are in fact collections of other items sold together, that can be modified or removed as part of the ordered item set, and displayed at the kit or component level. Items can be defined to require serial numbers or lot numbers assigned to the sale, if you're required to track this information for reporting or potential tracing. When the ship quantity value is greater than 0, a serial or lot number is automatically assigned based on a defined rule, but you can adjust the number manually if required. When entering an item that happens to be out of stock, you can choose to redirect the sale to an alternate item if one has been set, or set the quantity for this item to be backordered. For backordered items, you can create a requisition transaction directly from the sales order, requesting a purchase to be made to fulfill this backorder, or if allowed, to process the purchase order yourself and assign the purchase order number to the backordered item. When that purchase order has been received and items can be removed from backorder for shipping, you can enter the ship quantity manually, or use the Fill Backorders process for all or selected items. Or from the Fill Order tab, you can scan UPC barcodes from the item to increment the ship quantity. When recording customer payments or other transactions for accounting that don't require any further processing, these can be entered through the Accounts Receivable module, or when editing a customer and from the Accounts Receivable tab. There are many transaction types you can create from here. The most common ones are payments and invoices not generated from sales orders. For invoices, you only need to enter the transaction date and any other identifying information, including the terms code to determine the due date and any early payment discounts. Then in the total field, enter the after-tax amount. The tax value and pre-tax subtotal will be calculated from this. The invoice entry is now ready to be posted, where you can choose to review the ledger accounting activity, including the revenue account that comes from either the customer or the company settings special revenue account. The other common transactions are payments on invoices. These are very easy to create. Just click the checkbox next to each invoice being paid, then click the Payment button to start the entry. If you wanted to investigate details about invoices that came from sales orders, you can view the invoice and load that information. When processing the payment, enter the payment reference number and indicate if a customer receipt form will be generated. Choose to set only a portion of the invoice balance to pay, rather than the entire amount, for partially paid invoices. If an invoice has terms that allow early payment discounts, you can choose to apply or remove that discount. Then you can post the payment and review accounting. Print or email the customer receipt if requested. And now fully paid invoices no longer are displayed on this open list. You can also record customer payments on account without assigning them to invoices. Create a new transaction and choose the payment type. Enter the amount of the payment and any other required information. Then post the transaction to the customer. In the future, when this payment on account is meant to be assigned to an invoice, you only have to check both of these transactions and then click the Apply button to link them together. When a customer has paid invoices in their history, you can choose to reveal them from the Show button, selecting only those from the past year or the entire history. The invoice list will now include invoices no longer outstanding, with the applied credits viewable to expand from the arrowhead, or from the Expand All button. Or you can list all payments by clicking the Show Credits button, and expand applied invoices in the same way. If a posted transaction needs to be reversed, you can select it from the list, and then click the Void button, if user security allows this. Not only will this reverse the accounting for that transaction, but all paid invoices from voided payments will be restored as outstanding. If a customer has a credit balance to be repaid, or require some other rebate or refunded amount, the Refund Check button will create a debit memo transaction and print a check. Either for a specific customer or a group of customers from the accounts receivable list, you can generate finance charges against overdue invoices for all customers configured as allowed, if user security lets you do so. And if you have a stack of customer checks or charges to enter, you can create a payment batch to enter all the checks or cash receipts as a deposit, or generate an electronic fund transfer list of payments for outstanding receivables for those customers that are set up for EFT. When recording vendor payments or other transactions for accounting that don't require any further processing, these can be entered through the Accounts Payable module, or when editing a vendor and from the Accounts Payable tab. There are many transaction types you can create from here. The most common ones are payments and invoices not generated from purchase orders. For invoices, you only need to enter the transaction date and any other identifying information, including the terms code to determine the due date and any early payment discounts. The expense account comes from either the vendor or the company settings special purchases account. Then in the total field, enter the after-tax amount. The tax value and pre-tax subtotal will be calculated from this. The invoice entry is now ready to be posted, where you can choose to first review the ledger accounting activity. The other common transactions are payments on invoices. These are very easy to create. Just click the checkbox next to each invoice being paid, then click the Payment button to start the entry. If you wanted to investigate details about invoices that came from purchase orders, you can view the invoice and load that information. When processing the payment, enter the check number and indicate if a check or remittance form will be generated. Choose to pay only a portion of the invoice balance if desired, rather than the entire amount, for partially paid invoices. If an invoice has terms that allow early payment discounts, you can choose to take or remove that discount. Then you can post the payment and review accounting. Print the checks or remittance if requested. And now fully paid invoices are no longer displayed on this open list. You can also record vendor payments on account without assigning them to invoices. Create a new transaction and choose the payment type. Enter the amount of the payment and any other required information. Then post the transaction to the vendor. In the future, when this payment on account is meant to be assigned to an invoice, you only have to check both of these transactions and then click the Apply button to link them together. When a vendor has paid invoices in their history, you can choose to reveal them from the Show button, selecting only those from the past year or the entire history. The invoice list will now include invoices no longer outstanding, with the applied debits viewable to expand from the arrowhead or from the Expand All button. Or you can list all payments by clicking the Show Debits button and expand applied invoices in the same way. If a posted transaction needs to be reversed, you can select it from the list and then click the Void button if user security allows this. Not only will this reverse the accounting for that transaction, but all paid invoices from voided payments will be restored as outstanding. From the Accounts Payable list, if you have a group of checks or charges to create, you can use a payment batch to generate the checks to pay all outstanding vendor invoices you choose, or generate an electronic fund transfer list of payments for outstanding payables for those vendors that are set up for EFT. Overdue invoices will be displayed in red font color. On most key records and transactions throughout Spire, you can create any number of customizable field types and labels to include specialized information for your procedures or industry. When editing a record that supports these fields, open the User-Defined tab to see them. There will be one or more sub-tabs with as many extra fields as you specify, using different data types such as text, dates, numbers, and checkboxes. Fields can be defined to require a non-blank value, indicated by a star with the label, where an error will appear when saving if the value is blank. And some field types allow verification of the entered value, either to prevent typing certain characters or ensure it is within a specified range, or an error appears when an invalid value is used. If you have security rights to configure user-defined fields, you can see the UDF Properties button to create or make changes to these fields. The UDF Structure screen lists the fields already created, perhaps organized within separate pages that you specify. You can organize both pages and tabs by selecting, dragging, and dropping the object to the desired location. Edit an existing field in Properties, or create a new field. Each user-defined field requires a unique field name with no spaces or special characters for internal identification, and a label to best indicate to users what the field value is for. Choose the type of data you want to use. There are two different text field types for smaller or larger amounts of information. Text fields support straightforward value entry, or can be configured as a drop-down field where predefined values are selected. There are 4 different numeric field types that have different formatting for display, and all of them, except integers, allow setting the number of decimal place precision you require. There are also selections for date and Boolean checkbox fields. Whichever type you choose, you can set any to require non-blank values when saving the record. All user-defined field data types, except multi-line text and Boolean, allow setting validation or formatting choices to ensure that unexpected data is not saved. And these choices depend on the data type. For date fields, you can ensure that the value falls within a particular period, or warn if the value is later or earlier than today. For numeric fields, you can set minimum or maximum amounts to ensure the entry is within a range. And for text fields, you can assign a text mask to specify the number of characters and what each one can be, either by choosing a mask from the drop-down for common formats, or enter your own special layout, with alphabet character case forced to upper or lower if desired. When emailing your customers, vendors, employees, or others, Spire makes it easy to choose the recipients, format content flexibly, and track the communications for future review. To create an email, highlight a record of interest in the grid and click the Email button in the toolbar of any application that supports it. To create the email first, and then determine any attachments if desired. You can also use the Print button to select a report and then email it. When the email screen is open, you can either select an individual address to send to from any available contact email, or type it in manually. You can do the same in separate CC and BCC sections for addresses, and also set a subject for the recipients. There are multiple ways to include file attachments. One way is by using the Attach File button that allows browsing for a file of any allowed type. Or you can also attach by dragging the file and dropping it onto the email. The Attach Report button allows you to select a report and generate it based on the customer or other record highlighted in the grid. The body of the email can be entered from scratch, or you can select a template in order to include predefined text along with the subject, including with formatting. You could send a plain text email without formatting, or with rich text to include formatting, or raw HTML that can be used to create a rich text layout and do extra things, such as include an image in the email body. Hyperlinks can also be included in the email body, such as for a web page, or a tracking link for a shipment when emailing a sales order. In both template setup and new emails, you can insert a parameter to include database information, translated when the email is saved or sent. Send the email now, or save it to send at a later time. When you create multiple emails at a time, by multi-selecting records from the grid and clicking the Email button in the toolbar, different functionality occurs than for a single email. You start on a Template tab to determine the email subject and body for all emails. When choosing to send to recipient, instead of a specific address, you select a contact group name that will load the respective address for that contact of each selected record. The Attach Report button allows you to select a report to generate for each record selected, which may take a few moments depending on the number of records selected. After generation, each email is listed on the Messages tab as a batch, either ready to send now or save as a batch of emails to send later. Specific emails in this group can be modified from here and not affect the others. On the left side is an email module list that allows you to see the list of emails that either have already been sent or have been saved and are waiting to be sent. Batch groups of emails generated together can be seen on the Batches tab to access emails as a group rather than individually. Because you are looking at the list dedicated to emails, it is interesting while editing an email for a sales order to be able to use the Open Related button to look at either the sales order or the customer on the order. When editing a record that supports emails, the Communications tab shows a list of all emails generated and sent to them, in addition to notes saved as alerts or reminders. From here, you can view what had been sent in the past, and even resend an email with no edits or additions. New emails can also be created from here. Thanks for watching this Spire demonstration. So where do you go next? From links in the description below, register to start your free 30-day trial of Spire. Follow us on LinkedIn for regular information about updates and events. And subscribe to the Spire YouTube channel. Have a great day.